Now let us discuss When Lilacs Last in the Dooryard Bloomed poem by Walt Whitman. This poem was first published in 1865 in Drum Tapes. It is an elegy written on the death of the then American President Abraham Lincoln. He is known for his battle against slavery and civil war. People had great admiration for this Abraham Lincoln, and so his death couldn't be tolerated by the people. His death news come as a shock to the people, and so the poets like Walt Whitman mourn the death of Abraham Lincoln. This poem begins with grief over Abraham Lincoln's death, and then finally it ends with the philosophical acceptance of death. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the spring season, and at that time only lilacs birds bloom, and at that time only great star Venus went down in the western horizon. So these three things, these three symbols are associated with each other: spring season, lilacs flower, and Venus star. With these powerful symbols, Whitman wanted to mention that with the arrival of spring in the every season, every year, he will remember the death of the American president. The memory of American president will not be forgotten. It expresses his strong love for the American president. It describes how that plant is like a bush with rich green color, and its leaves are heart shaped, and the flowers also are pointed. He feels that the perfume of the lilac is somewhat like the thought of Lincoln. It intimately links him with the order of lilac. So he goes to the backyard of his house, and there he finds a lilac bush there. One lilac flower is blooming. He breaks the sprig along with its flower, and he decides to place it on the coffin of Abraham Lincoln. Then he made one reference to the bird called thrush. He describes that bird, how it avoids human occupied places. It stays away from the humans. It prefers only secluded places. Actually, this bird symbolizes the spirituality of the poet, which is bleeding. Actually, that bird thrush is singing a song, and it expresses the pain he has for the death of Abraham Lincoln. Similarly, the poet also has some pain in his heart because he is lamenting over the death of Abraham Lincoln, and so the entire humanity is feeling the pain because of the death of Abraham Lincoln. So far he has talked about spring season, lilac flower, how he felt helpless, and then he compared his mind with the bird thrush. Now he is going to talk about the journey of the coffin of Lincoln. After the assassination, Lincoln's body is placed in a coffin, and it is carried to the final place where the dead body is going to be placed, and finally where he is going to take rest. And the coffin has to move through so many crowded cities. So the entire country is experiencing the mourning. The journey of that coffin continued day and night. From Washington to Illinois, the coffin is traveling now for burial. As the coffin passes through so many towns, people from town after town, they gathered around the coffin to look at the last look of their departed leader, and to mourn his death. As the coffin moves town after town, people came to have a last look of their departed leader and to mourn his death. Whitman also goes. The twig he has taken from his backyard of the garden, that twig of lilac, he placed on the coffin of Lincoln. So here the personal grief is universalized. Now he is going to generalize death, saying that he is going to offer flowers to all the coffins, not only for this coffin of Abraham Lincoln, but for all coffins. Irrespective of social status, he decides to mourn the death of all the people who have met death in this world. In this way, he celebrates the death, saying that it is sane and sacred. Then Whitman recalls how he has witnessed one drooping of star in the western sky before the death of Lincoln. Before that news reaches him, he has seen the drooping of star in the western horizon. He recalls that incident. He said that it is a bad omen. It indicates that one evil thing will happen for the country. That sinking of the western star is nothing but the heart of the poet. He has sensed that something wrong is going to happen in his country. Then the poet describes that he is listening to the song of that shy bird thrush, hermit thrush. He understands that that bird is calling him, but the pain he had for that departed leader does not allow him to go and join with the bird. He couldn't respond to that bird. He recalls the drooping of the star. That star is nothing but the grief the poet has for the death of Abraham Lincoln. So one side the poet is experiencing the pain, the other side one consolation he can get from the bird's music, but he couldn't go and respond to that bird's music as he is overwhelmed by the death of or the grief of Abraham Lincoln. And then the poet says he does not know how to mourn the death of others. He does not know how he can sing for the dead people he loved, and he does not know what perfume he could sprinkle on the dead on the graves of his loved ones. Then he felt that the wind blows from the western and eastern seas, and that wind will carry the song that will be the perfume for his loved one's grave. And then the poet continues his inefficiency in doing certain things for the death of the loved ones. He said that what picture I can hang on the chamber walls of my dead loved ones. He does not know, he expresses that. Then he decides that I can hang the pictures of spring and farms in the month of April on the chamber walls of the dead loved ones. Then the poet talks of his land America. Proudly he talks of America. He praises America, saying that it is a varied and ample land of Lincoln, and Lincoln would live forever in the hearts of his countrymen. Then again the poet expresses that the hermit thrush bird is once again singing, but I couldn't respond to it as he is not ready to forget the drooping western star and the lilac. That is the grief he had for the dead American president. Because of his overwhelming grief, he begins to talk about death in general. He welcomes death as it is lovely, and he felt that it goes around the world and it does not care about daytime or nighttime. It does not wait for the right hour also. It does not distinguish people between low people and rich people, poor people. He does not make any distinction. It comes to all the people. With this understanding only, he hears the song once again, the song of hermit thrush. He is charmed by the song of the bird. He understands that death is his dark mother, and he understands the necessity of death universally, how it is necessary. He understands that, and he said that one should be very happy about the approaching death. And he said that he himself would sing happily about his own approaching death, because in death only we can find comfort and solace. By listening to the song of the hermit thrush bird only, he comes to the understanding of the nature of death. He gets this vision from that hermit thrush bird's song only. He began with the particular, that is about the death of Abraham Lincoln. He moves to the general, about the people whoever had sacrificed their lives in American Civil War. So he moved from particular to the general. Then finally he realizes that the people who are all living are really the people who are all suffering. The people who are all dead are really the fortunate people, because they are taking rest. But it was generally believed that the dead people are the one who experienced sufferings, but it is not true. Only the people who are all living are getting the sufferings. So the poem ends with the reconciliation with the death of Abraham Lincoln. And he talked of two strange companions. One is knowledge of death and another one is thought of death. These two companions follow Whitman, follow the poet in his ritual retreat. So in this poem we can understand how he feels that how he frees himself from the blow of death. That's all. Thank you.